What's up, Summoners, and welcome back to another RiftGuides WildRift video. We got a new patch, so here's our new tier list for HighElo. Pick of the patch basically means to always pick and ban their champion or lose to it. For mid, Baron and jungle, Jace is the uncontested #1 pick, but he's not going to get nerfed anytime soon. Thanks, Riot. Inside of a tier, there's no real order that makes the champion stronger or weaker, but here's something about the S tier. Similar to our pick of the patch, S tier champions are a must pick if you want to win more games. With that said, nerf Jace and let's start with the video. To be as truthful as possible with this list, let's begin with the Baron lane. Jace is the best champion in the Baron lane, so please nerf him yet again. Otherwise, we present you one of the most recent victims of irrelevant nerfs. Dr. Mundo lost a bit of health regen, but that's literally it. It doesn't change anything about the champion's strength. He's still an absolute machine in this lane. Farming from range is an easy feat for him, and poking the enemy is also quite the option. Thanks to his insanely strong second ability, he may heal up to closely 50% of all the damage he has taken during its active time. If you slap a Spirit Visage on top, you'll see that he's quite the beefer. The weird thing about Mundo though is his ability to gain crazy amounts of AD though. You will see him build only tank items and he's still able to get up to like 400 AD with those items. Why? Well, he gets AD from his third ability and converts bonus health into AD with his ultimate ability. So any melee champion out there, be careful when you try to face him. Especially if you're burst heavy, he's going to use his second ability to mitigate near half of the damage, while he's going to beat you up with all the base damage and stats he has. And we all know what happens if you quote-unquote feed a tank and he gets ahead. He's going to run you down regardless of what you're doing, where you are and who's with you. And here is our full HighElo tier list for the Baron lane. Before we continue with today's video, it's time for a question of the day. What is your opinion on WildRift's balancing? Would you like a more pro-play oriented balancing or rather a more casualized approach? Share your thoughts with me in the comments below. Also add Jace to your comment if you think this champion is broken. Next up comes the jungle role. And yet again, Jace is the best champion in the jungle, so please nerf him yet again. What about a champion who was able to clear 4 camps without a leash before Scuttlecrab? Yep, we're talking about Morgana. Unironically, it was said that she wasn't good or playable in the jungle. I don't know where this idea or judgment came from, because I played this champion since its release anywhere else but support, which is her by far most useless role. She is good in mid lane, jungle and as an APC in the dragon lane. Forget about using her as a support, that's literally a waste of power and purpose. But what makes her so strong in those lanes? She can play a lane in a completely non-interactive way and permanently just shove waves. That way she's able to acquire vision for free while removing the risk of dying to ganks. I mean, have you seen the range on her second ability, including its hitbox? Yeah, but here's something else about that no Morgana player knows about. Regardless of what spell of yours is dealing damage to champions, large monsters or cannons, you're always getting a cooldown reset on your second ability. The same applies to your ultimate's initial and second trigger. So rather than saving your second ability for better days, you can just use it right into the middle of the fight before you go into 5 people to cast your ultimate ability. It's quite the nice bonus and you'll thank me later once you see 2 to 3 different puddles eating up the enemy team. And as for jungle, you have to know one thing about Morgana, and that is to properly multi-camp. Doing so will greatly increase your clearing efficiency. Thanks to the buffs, you'll now have plenty of time after finishing your 4-camp clear to watch an episode of your favorite TV show before the scuttler spawns. Another thing you shouldn't forget is her insane pace throughout the game. You can take her strength from laning and combine it with jungling, which means you speed up your clear and shove waves super fast at the same time, which makes diving super easy as the enemy has less time to react. And this is our entire HighElo tier list for the jungle role. Up next comes the middle lane. And who thought about that one? Jace is the best champion in the mid lane. Yay, nerf him. Next to Jace though, we have another known criminal who has yet again avoided any punishment in the form of relevant nerfs. Zed is just an abomination in terms of damage output and mobility alike. Being forced to face him in a side lane is absolute terror. The only way of getting him killed usually entails participation of a lot of team members, and even then it's not guaranteed that you'll get him, or that you won't lose a team member in the process of trying to do so. He is also part of the champions that can be beaten up brutally levels 1 to 4, but even when their score is 0-1 or 0-2, they'll still one-shot you with their ultimate ability. The only way of avoiding that kind of death is not facing him head on or running summoner spells such as Exhaust. However, if you mess up once, you will just die over and over again. Once that happens, your entire team is going to face some serious issues, as Zed is now able to constantly run to a side lane and collect kill after kill with each ultimate cooldown. However, there's one thing you have to keep in mind when you play Zed. Before you go in, check the enemy items for the stasis enchant. You can easily bait it and are not forced to commit any more than just your ultimate in most situations. That way you can preserve your other cooldowns and maybe one-shot them after their stasis ended. For laning though, you want to keep it slow and controlled early on. Your champion isn't the strongest during that time period, so wait for your time to shine, which usually happens once you have access to all of your basic abilities. If that still wasn't enough, the previous segment about how broken your ultimate ability is, in combination with your basic abilities, still applies, and you can just play slowly towards that power spike. And this is our full HighElo mid lane tier list for you. Now it's time for our Dragon Lane. Attack damage carries. Nah, we played a better version of those. The mages and the mage-like AD carries such as Varus and Corki. But in this case we have Orianna as the uncontested pick of the patch for you. Her power throughout the game is absurd and her consistent damage output is annoying to deal with. And the only way of really punishing that champion is to abuse her relatively early weak laning phase, before she's able to get a lost chapter. Once she has that item, it's most likely game over for you. But what makes her so strong and annoying to deal with? You can't reach her unless you really commit everything you have, and even then, what stops her from replying in the same fashion? And who said that you're just able to get on top of her without being bullied before? Spamming her abilities into her face will chip away your HP and there's just nothing you can do. Especially if she rushes Archangel Staff, which guarantees that she has infinite mana. Compared to mid lane Orianna, I just always complete Archangel Staff as fast as possible and afterwards bum rush either a Rapid on Staff Cap or avoid stuff. You're going to deal some serious damage with this, trust me. And this is our full HighElo tier list for AD carries. Last but not least comes the support role, and here we have the biggest playmaker in the game for you, Thresh, the Chain Warden. This fellow loves whipping his opposition to submission as his level 1 power is insane. To show off true class on his champion, you can almost always abuse the typical level 1 lane cheese. Don't leash for your jungler and make sure you're able to enter the furthest away brush from your tower and lane. All you have to do is sit there and wait with your AD carry until the enemy laners come. Once they're close enough, you're going to hit them with an empowered auto attack thanks to your third ability and your active part of it. The bonus damage and slow will put them in a really rough spot, and it's very likely that they're forced to use a summoner spell almost immediately. Once you've done this, it's time to put on some more pressure. With the established HP lead, you now want to threaten the enemy constantly. They're not allowed to get anything for free. Another thing you have to keep in mind is your resets. Whenever you go base, you should never walk back to a lane immediately. Look at the map and assess the situation properly. While doing so, you can path towards the middle lane. Due to the middle lane's central location, you can move to any lane around the map without losing too much time. It's literally that easy, and here's another tip for Thresh. Before you go for inconsistent hook plays, you can just flash flame and force the enemy to react. After they do that, you're almost guaranteed an absolute free hit with your first ability. Keep it easy and keep it clean. And this is our entire tier list for the HighElo support role. And that's it for today's video. Thank you for watching, and if you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. In case you didn't know yet, Jace should be nerfed and is an absolute abomination of a champion. If you don't believe me, check out our unranked to challenger climb. For those of you who want more Rift guides, you're more than welcome to take a look at our Patreon. We offer VOD reviews, builds and runes for all champions, including skill order and anything you can wish for. Interested? Click on the link and hit the next level.